Well, we're now joined via Zoom by political analyst Xolani Dube. Mr. Dube, very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to SA Today.
Let me humble myself to you, Simpiwe, as well as to the view.
Now, what's your reaction to the North Gauteng High Court ruling? Is this a victory for constitutionalists?
I think the most important thing, we have to contextualize the justice system of our country. And we have to also understand that the Lady Justice in South Africa is dead, is no more. Why I am saying that, put aside the issue of Jacob Zuma, look at the issue of Marikana. No one was held accountable. Look at the life of Life Esidimeni. No one was held accountable. Look at the issue of Phoenix Massacre. No one, as we speak today, is being held accountable. And so when you talk about justice in South Africa, I think really we are talking about a utopian concept. It's something that is not existing. And so even the issue of Jacob Zuma, we have to put it into that context.
I mean, you say that the Lady Justice is dead. I mean, you mentioned the Marikana massacre, you mentioned the Phoenix massacre. Surely you don't have confidence in the country's justice system, do you?
Look, I don't think that it is about me. It's about everyone who is a patriotic South African. Because if we don't have such institution that must be blind and must also act without favor, definitely our country is in a serious predicament.
Now, Mr. Dube, did the court judgment, though, give clarity of whether Zuma must go back to jail or go back, to the conditions which his lawyers argue are far worse than the hospital ward from which his medical parole was granted? Or did the court direct that he should go back to, go back under correctional medical supervision, considering that there's still no evidence that he has ostensibly recovered from whatever terminal illness that he's been afflicted with?
Look, Simpiwe, we have a history, a very sad one. That's why I'm talking about the Phoenix Massacre, because the issue of Phoenix Massacre was a result of what happened within the so-called the elite of our country, and where ordinary people were killed, And so what is happening when it comes to the issue of Jacob Zuma is the issue of ego. It has nothing to do with the interest of the country. Our country is in serious predicament in different levels, And we are busy coming here to discuss a single person who's about 8 years, where there is millions and millions of young people who are unemployed, millions and millions of young people who are facing this COVID. And so I think we don't really have priority in order in our country. Why? Definitely, it is an indication that the master narrative is always taking us somewhere where we won't have a point of no return.
Well, Zuma's legal team is quite confident of overwhelmingly good prospects of successfully appealing this ruling. Is it a gross exaggeration, though, that an argument is being raised on the implications of this judgment being life-threatening? Or does Zuma's legal team perhaps have a point on the public interest in equality before the law, Ubuntu, and other values of the new era? Look,
as I said, South Africa currently is under the dictatorship of the minerals energy complex. Any country is being ruled by a certain clique, but other countries, the cliques are very patriotic. And we have to ask ourselves, are the rulers of South Africa really patriotic? But the way they do things, I don't think that they are patriotic, because look what they've done to us in July. And what they are trying to intend even now by bringing this issue of Jacob Zuma that we thought that is the past, but they are bringing it back. For what good reason, we have to ask ourselves.
Now, back to my question, though, is it an exaggeration that the implications of this judgment is life-threatening?
Look, we have to ask ourselves, is it life-threatening only to Jacob Zuma or to the well-being of the South Africans? What is it important? Is the life of Jacob Zuma or is the well-being of South Africans as well as the well-being of the future generation of this country. That is the most important thing. If we are going to individualize our destiny, we are going to find ourselves in problem here.
So how do you suggest the court should have handled this matter?
Look, we come from a past where millions and millions of South African natives were brutalized by the apartheid government. Recently, we buried what we declared. You know, it was given the most dignified send-off because we thought that as South Africans, there is what we call it Ubuntu. And with that Ubuntu, we always prioritize what is important for social cohesion and what is important for the future generation of this country. And so it seems as if now we are no longer in that particular agenda. We are more personal, more on hatred, rather than to look at the bigger picture and to say,
okay, Mr. Dube, we seem to have lost you. All right, we've lost the line to Mr. Xolani Dube. He's a political analyst and he's been sharing with us his thoughts about the North Gauteng High Court judgment with regards to Mr. Jacob Zuma's medical parole being unlawful.